Welcome to the Assent Podcast, Episode 8, Environment. This is a podcast about assenting to the right principles. As I have been discussing, life is about living purposefully by developing body, mind, heart, and spirit towards that which has meaning, by developing skills and valuing people. There are things outside of your control in the environment. A lot of what I have been talking about lately are things within your control. The environment is not. Only the choices you make in navigating the environment are under your control. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Reinhold Niebuhr. Your ability to assess, accept, and plan for how you will adapt to the environment is critical to survival and to your ability to carve any meaning out of this world. If you can recognize some of your own biases, you have a better ability to mute these biases out of your analysis of the world in which you live and recognize the world for what it is and is not. This leaves you with your first key to dealing with your environment. Your ability to see the world as it is will never be perfect. To realize this, you must let go of ego.
Think about the people that we share our lives with. Our family, neighbours, friends, work colleagues. Think of their faces and their names, and instead of thinking of what they've said and what they've done, look carefully at the movement of our hearts. What comes to us when we think of these people? Is it compassion? Is it love? Or is there judgment, condemnation? We are to judge what we truly find there, see ourselves as we truly are. It requires self-examination.
In Stoicism, this is the discipline of assent. You perceive the world, item, event, environment around you. You form a snap judgment. You present it to yourself, body, heart, mind, and spirit, for judgment, and then you make a judgment. When you make a judgment on an item, you have three choices. It is either good or bad, or you can withhold judgment. Your ability to judge correctly goes back to the initial discussions that I had on purpose. Is it meaningful? Does it serve people? Does it align with nature or God? The Stoics refer to this as the logos, the physical laws that established order in the cosmos, which permeate all of nature, including humans. What environmental influences are you allowing into your life that influence you, that threaten your way of being, or give you genuine opportunities to improve? In The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, he writes about circles of concern versus circles of influence. Your circle of concern is larger than your circle of influence. Concern can include the whole world, anything that might concern you, but your influence does not extend past where you have control. You can get these two paradigms confused and spend your focus and energy on things outside your control or influence. To expand your influence, you need to first deal with things under your influence. Your own body, mind, heart, and spirit, your room, your home, your relationships, your work, and then your local community. What things threaten your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual being? Conversely, where are there opportunities for your being? I go through a lot of details about this in my up-and-coming book, 5 Principles. There's a lot of opportunities out there these days, and most people are not paying attention to the threats either. If you are able to navigate by assessing and adapting to your personal environment and survive and grow, you will be able to bring value into your relationships. This is positioning to add value based on the type of relationship. How you position matters. A parent has a different relationship than a teacher. If a teacher or adult friend usurps the role of parent, there are problems. Spouse relationships are the same way. Another person usurps the role of a spouse, and the consequences of that betrayal can be severe. The importance or value of the relationship dictates how uniquely you must position yourself in the mind of the other. Relationships take effort. That effort is in positioning. Are you there physically? Are you there mentally? Are you there emotionally and spiritually in ways that are perceived by the other person in the relationship? As you position in the world along the four states of being, you will inevitably do it imperfectly, but to the extent you can adjust your positioning, you can improve it. Typically, where things are low-level challenge, you'll have boredom, relaxation, and perhaps comfort. If you know you could do more, you may feel conviction or anxiety about not pushing. However, as the challenge of your position changes into harder and most likely more meaningful endeavors, worry, heightened anxiety, and even fear can take place. The natural tendency as you push the balance between skill and challenge is to pull back because you fear being out of control. Where you push into overly challenging areas of position, you experience fear and panic because your skill level does not match. This fear can be healthy. If you are placing yourself in a dangerous place where you do not have the skill to exist, fear is a reasonable response. However, here is the problem. Only in challenging areas can you learn and grow skills. As you learn to walk the balance between maintaining control and panic, you learn to exist in newer positions within your environment. If you find yourself in places of anxiety and panic, you have pushed too far. Something should tell you to pull back, reassess, and regain control. However, when you exist completely in relaxed control, finding boredom and apathy, you're not walking the right path either. You have to seek a balance between these states. This is flow. Flow is a state between control and panic in which you are charting new positions, uncovering new meaning, and developing new skill. You can use flow for troubleshooting, but not as an absolute. Video games, surfing, martial arts, and many other activities where you can find states of flow do not intrinsically make those things good. Video games, for example, are designed for near instantly flow, scaling up to the big boss fight at the end, keeping people hooked in for hours and hours of flow play. The question is that flow state creating something meaningful in a physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual sense? As you successfully navigate the environment, personally and relationally, leadership may be needed to help guide your community. This increases complexity, as all forms of competition do. It increases the desire to understand the motives of the world. How can you compete with or avoid that which does not bring meaning into the community? After all, the person or organization that does not survive will cease to benefit the world. And we want our organizations and communities to benefit the world, to make the world a better place, to point toward a higher reality. The only way to do this is through understanding the threats and opportunities of the competitive landscape.
What can men do against such reckless hate?
Ride out with me. Ride out and meet them.
Fell deeds awake.
Now for wrath, now for ruin, and the red gold!
The world is a competitive place. It is up to us to sow meaningful policies into place, not to ignore the dangers, but to provide unique solutions and leverage these in ways that add value. We have to make sure our ideas are competitive. Wonderful castles surrounded by deep, dangerous moats, where the leader inside is an honest and decent person, Proverbially, the castle gets its strength from the genius inside. The moat is permanent and acts as a powerful deterrent to those considering an attack. And inside, the leader makes gold, but doesn't keep it all for himself. Roughly translated, we like great companies with dominant positions whose franchise is hard to duplicate and has tremendous staying power or some permanence to it. Warren Buffett.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to find a business with a wide and long-lasting moat around it, protecting a terrific economic castle with an honest lord in charge of the castle.
Thanks for listening to the Assent Podcast, a podcast about purpose, skills, people, environment, and resources. I hope this has been educational, inspiring, fun. See you next week. As always, helpful resources are below or in the notes, and please help me out by liking and subscribing to this podcast. Let me know what you think in the comments. What did you like? Where could I make this podcast better?